Let's jump right in. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going on a seriously fascinating journey to uncover the hidden biochemical forces that silently dictate our social interactions, our relationships, and even our most basic survival instincts. We all love to think that we're entirely in control of our choices and our moods, right? But the reality is, there's a vast, invisible network operating just beneath the surface.
To really get this, picture a scene with me. You're sitting in a completely quiet room. Maybe it's your workplace, maybe a classroom. A door opens and a new person walks in. Nothing obvious happens, nobody says a word, and yet the atmosphere subtly shifts. Some people sit up and become more attentive, others suddenly seem more confident or maybe a bit nervous or just strangely distracted.
It begs a pretty profound mystery, which is the central question we're tackling today. Can one person's biology silently influence everyone else in the room? Are we constantly communicating through invisible chemical signals without even realizing it? Well, to solve this biological detective story, we have to interrogate the primary suspects. Section 1. Pheromones versus hormones.
Let's set our biological baseline here. First up, we have pheromones. These are external chemical signals secreted by an individual specifically to target and trigger a response in others. On the flip side, we have hormones. These are your body's internal chemical messengers. They travel right through your bloodstream to regulate everything from your mood and metabolism all the way to stress and reproduction.
So here's where we have to separate established science from pop culture myth. In the animal kingdom, pheromones are absolutely real. They are established, well-documented territorial markers and mating triggers. But human pheromones? Well, for decades, scientists have tried to figure out if we release similar invisible signals to control others. But the evidence is incredibly mixed and highly debated. What the science actually points to is that the real masterminds shaping our behavior and indirectly influencing how others react to us through our mood, our body language, and our scent are internal hormones.
Section 2. The chemistry of attraction.
Think about the dramatic hormonal shifts that take place across a typical 28-day menstrual cycle. During the follicular phase, leading up to ovulation, estrogen and testosterone are relatively high. But in the luteal phase, right after ovulation, those levels drop off and progesterone spikes to prep the body for a potential pregnancy. And what researchers have found is that these fluctuating levels completely alter physical attraction.
Let's look at how these internal shifts play out in the real world. Studies show that when a woman's testosterone is high near ovulation, she is significantly more attracted to rugged masculine faces, traits that historically signal genetic fitness. But hey, it's not just women. In men, when their testosterone spikes, like say after winning a competitive video game or a sports match, their preference for highly feminine faces noticeably increases. It's like testosterone acts as a powerful dial, turning up our drive for sex-typical traits in a partner. Okay, neuroscience recently found something absolutely wild regarding a specific brain circuit called CACNA1H plus neurons, which are located in the prefrontal cortex. This circuit integrates our hormonal states with social cues. But here's the mind-blowing part. Activating this exact same circuit produces completely opposite behaviors depending on biological sex. In females, during their fertile window, firing up these neurons boosts mating interest and receptivity. But in males, activating those very same neurons actually suppresses their sociosexual interest. It's literally a shared circuitry that gets flexibly sculpted by our hormones. Now, what if I told you hormones also hijack your sense of smell? Normally, humans actually prefer the body odor of people who have different MHC genes. These are genes related to the immune system. Reproducing with someone genetically dissimilar gives you offspring that are more resistant to pathogens. Pretty smart, right? However, women taking contraceptive pills, which hormonally mimic the state of early pregnancy, experience a complete reversal of this. Their scent preference shifts toward individuals with similar MHC genes, which are essentially the sense of their kin. When the body thinks it's pregnant, it wants the safety of family, not the genetic diversity of a new mate.
Section 3. Oxytocin. Love and prejudice.
We've all heard oxytocin called the cuddle hormone or the love hormone in pop psychology. And sure, it does stimulate milk secretion, drive maternal sentiment, and help build trust and empathy. But the reality is way more complex and honestly a bit darker. Oxytocin heavily promotes in-group favoritism. It makes us fiercely protective of our own circle, which means it also drives prejudice and defensive behavior against outgroups or strangers.
On top of that, elevated oxytocin is often found in people experiencing relationship distress. So it's not just a love hormone, it is a profound stress marker, signaling a desperate need to affiliate when we feel vulnerable.
Section 4. Cortisol and parental instincts. When scientists map the cortical limbic networks using fMRI, the results are striking. These are the complex systems in the human brain that manage arousal, emotion, reward, and executive function. When a person becomes a parent, these brain networks physically reorganize themselves to support parental sensitivity. They literally wire the brain to recognize a baby's cry and to attribute massive, urgent importance to infant cues. Because of that reorganization, hormones have to adapt to serve this new brain network. Usually we think of cortisol purely as the stress hormone, the thing that triggers our fight or flight energy when we're in danger. But in new mothers, higher levels of cortisol do something entirely different. Instead of just causing panic, that stress translates into heightened vigilance and precaution. Mothers with higher cortisol are actually much more accurate at discriminating their own infant from others just by smell, and they display significantly more affectionate behavior. The stress hormone literally fuels parental dedication.
Section 5. Our interconnected biology.
40,000. It's a pretty surprising number. We spent this whole time talking about the brain and the endocrine glands, but it turns out the heart is its own source of intelligence. There are around 40,000 neurons located right inside the human heart. It actually communicates biochemically with the rest of the body and secretes its very own hormones that are capable of counteracting stress hormones like cortisol. What this means is that while our lives are heavily governed by these ancient chemical messengers, our emotional intelligence and our heart literally have a say in balancing those hormonal secretions.
So let's loop right back to that quiet room we imagined at the start. The door opens, a person walks in, and the atmosphere shifts. We now know that whether it's fluctuating testosterone changing our confidence, oxytocin driving our group loyalties, or cortisol heightening our senses, we are constantly projecting our internal biological states outward. The evidence suggests we're part of a deeply interconnected network. So I'll leave you with this to chew on. Next time you walk into a room and you feel that dynamic shift, who is really pulling the strings? Is it your conscious mind, or is it your invisible chemical messengers? Thanks for exploring this with me.